Hey, folks, welcome to the 24th episode of the Knock&Talk show. I, of course, am your host, Patrick Faulkner. And in this episode, we have our very first second interview with Dakota Hanks from Oklahoma and the tribal law enforcement agency out there. And in this episode, we get to talk about updates from Dakota, making the dive team, field training officer, as well as talking in depth about peer support and how potentially you and your agency can get involved. So, if you want to know more, stay tuned. We'll catch you right after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 24th episode of the Knock&Talk show. And today we have a repeat guest, our very first repeat guest, Dakota Hanks. He was with us very early on in the Knock&Talk show last year. And you may recall his stories about the chickens in the trailer. We've got some updates from Dakota, and I'm really excited about having our very first repeat guest. Dakota, brother, welcome back to the Knock&Talk show. Yeah, man. So right before we hit the record button, I had asked you if you had anything similar to the chickens in the trailers, and you said there wasn't. But do us a favor, catch us up on how life on the res is treating you since we last spoke.
Can't complain. I made FTO back early February.
Okay.
Field trainer now for our patrol. We've also got a peer support group that anytime a department, or not necessarily a department, but potentially a law enforcement family or a first responder type situation, if they need some type of peer support, mental health type resources or help, we get together, reach out, give them resources, kind of like an unlicensed therapist. And so,
Okay.
And then last Monday, I passed our test, and made our light horse dive team. So, a lot of moving parts.
Wow. Okay, so how many acres of water do you have there on the reservation?
I'm not sure how many we've got as far as a totality for our 13 counties. I know we've got, just in the 5 that I cover, I think we've got close to about 3, possibly. That may be under a bit. I would say about 3 to 6 bodies we would cover. But we would also respond to other agencies, maybe not necessarily in our jurisdiction, that don't have a dive team or those resources. So really just wherever we're requested, we'll call out to.
Okay. What was that training like to prepare for the dive team?
So I've been pretty decent at cardio pretty much my whole life. And
Okay.
it was one of those situations where I didn't have a whole lot, especially being on days. A lot of the gyms around here don't have pools accessible for when I finish my shift. And about the time that I had started trying out to prepare for the dive team, my wife was still in the police academy. So it was patrol during the day, get home, had the kids, dinner, bed. And that was pretty much how it went. So I think I had one day in the pool before I actually tried out. And it was one of those, man, I bugged my wife enough to try out. And if I fail, she's going to kick my ass. So it was one of those that I had plenty of opportunities not to go through with it. But I was like, man, she's going to kill me if I don't. So just kind of stuck with the one day of the pool training, and it worked out. So
nice. What was the tryout like?
So we don't have a very big dive team. I think we've got about 8 to 10 guys, if I'm correct. Um, and at the time, we only had 3 spots open, and 5 of us tested. So it was the first phase was in the water with the test, and then our second phase was just acclimating to dive gear and being underwater. Um, Unfortunately, only 4 out of the 5 of us actually made the team. But it was one of those that right there at the end of the second phase, it was more of a mental thing than it was just being in the water. Just because you're so
Mm,
used to breathing, it's a necessity, and then you get underwater and realize you don't have it. So it was a head game for the second part, but won't have to do it again.
interesting.
So
Yeah. Um, how often does the team get called out?
really just depends.
Okay.
We have mandated training we do every month to stay up to par with our equipment. Um, as many classes as we want to attend in order to get our certificates and requirements for anything outside of our department. Um, but really, it's summer days or potentially high call volume as far as us responding as a dive team, but it's kind of hit and miss, especially with everything that's been going on. Because I don't know how it's been there, but Oklahoma weather has been absolutely insane. So right now it's just still up in the air on call outs.
Okay. Out here on, well, at least in the Atlanta area, we've had a couple of storms. Not a whole lot outside of the ordinary for spring weather. Um, but I have been keeping up with the news cycles and watching the storms as they come across the mountains in the Pacific and then through the plains. So I got family in Birmingham, and that's kind of like a tornado alley. So by the time it reaches us on the East Coast, it's most of the bad part of it. The red cells have disappeared, and we just get the rain.
Yeah, we've been hit with quite a few tornadoes this year.
Yeah,
My previous department, their town was absolutely just wiped out. Uh,
really.
yeah, yeah, it was. They had a lot of impact. We lost a lot of businesses and residences. It was a pretty big deal.
So do you not to take away from that because that's awful. And I've been in a community that has been really hurt by a natural disaster before, so I know the long lasting the effects of that, both to the community as well as to the economy, and hopefully that town jurisdiction is able to pull together and bounce back. Uh, uh, Going back to you and the dive team, do y'all have a like a dedicated marine unit where we've got folks on boats that are patrolling the lakes?
We don't as a department, but we have
Okay.
pretty good rapport with our wildlife and game wardens, and it's pretty much one of those agencies where if we give a call out and they may have a resource that we don't, they're all about jumping ship and kind of sharing the wealth of whatever equipment they've got. But as a department, no, we just have a specialized dive team that responds to call outs.
Okay. That's interesting. But you also mentioned that you recently became an FTO. So congratulations on now becoming a legacy officer, if you will, being able to pass on knowledge, skills, abilities that you've learned. Um, how many folks have you had riding shotgun with you since then?
Uh, I've had two. Um, had two that I was actually an FTO for. But the way our FTO program works is, um, if you're uncertified, you do 16 weeks of field training and you train 4 weeks in each one of our precincts before you go back to.
Okay.
But if you're prior law, have a couple of years under your belt, then you do our expedited, which is 8 weeks. So you just do 2 weeks per FTO in your assignment compared to driving all across our 13 counties. Um, Pretty intimidating starting out. Both my FTOs that I got here were, I think, total they had 25 years of experience. So it was one of those I wasn't necessarily teaching them how to be a cop. It was just teaching them how to be light horse, how to be the tribal side. So it's pretty humbling. I think there was a lot of takeaway
Mm.
for me, just as much as there was for for the guys that I had riding shotgun. But it's been humbling. I enjoy it.
It's a very positive way to look at it. Being able for you as the trainer to be able to pull away and take away and learn from, say, someone that's a little more seasoned than you. I think that's a great way for you to actually become a better trainer, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they both came from sheriff's departments. One was actually from Texas, and they don't deal with a whole lot of tribal law, if at all, if I'm mistaken.
Mm.
So it was kind of a shell shock for him, and it was really just determining, what crimes are committed where and where they're tried was his biggest thing that he had to adjust to. But outside of that, I mean, it was most times I was just the chauffeur, and whatever they did, man, they wanted to spread hate and discontent. We did it till their heart was fulfilled. But I freaking enjoy it. Nothing better.
It, the last time you were on the show, you were telling a story about how you ran code lights and sirens for an hour and a half, 90 minutes,
Yep.
to get to get from one side of your from your assignment to respond to a call. What did those newbies think of that? And did you have to run code for an hour and a half?
I was pretty fortunate with them because there wasn't a whole lot I had to hash on. It might have been our report system, but man, outside of the driving, dude, they were freaking spot on. I could just sit there and scroll through Facebook while they're running code. Not really running through Facebook, but I mean
Right, right. No, I get you.
that I had to really worry about. Man, they were freaking spot on. It was a shell shock for them, just because they didn't have 13 counties. Um,
Mm.
I say that as a whole, as a department, we have 13, but even the 5 that we cover is still a pretty big deal for somebody that's not used to that type of environment. Whether you do come from a sheriff's office or a larger municipality, 5 counties is quite a bit. So it was
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I can't imagine running code uh, for an hour and a half. Yeah, you correct me if I'm wrong, but if you want to find stupid people in this world, put lights and sirens behind them, and they don't know what to do,
yeah.
and to have to deal with that for an hour and a half to get to, you're already amped up for the call, right? Because you're having
Oh
to
yeah.
run code, and then having to deal with the idiots that just stop right in front of you or won't get out of the way, or I would imagine that was something those guys had to really mind adjust to get around.
Yeah, it's a big plus for us. Majority, I would say majority. At least 3 of the 5 counties that I cover, we have I-35. So we've got interstate highway, which is a plus. We don't have to take all the detours, county roads, but then you've got twice as many stupid people that just lock up when the lights and sirens are on. So I have to catch myself because
Yeah.
I like to stay pretty professional when I talk, but we run code and we hit the interstate, and I'll text my sergeant or my lieutenant. I'll be like, man, I apologize. I've just made up a new cuss word. So if this video goes forward, I'm giving you a heads up that I've made up a new word. And so far, my luck's been
Oh,
I haven't been subpoenaed and I haven't pulled into to count carpet. So we're doing good.
nice. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm one of those that sort of sounds like Yosemite Sam as well. While while running code.
Yeah.
So what's next on the horizon? What's the next goal that you've got that you're shooting for?
Uh, I think right now it's just getting my feet wet, pun, with the dive team, getting used to that. Like I said, it's been a year and a half that I've been with Light Horse, and it's been a department that they don't let you just sit stagnant. So, we're not micromanaged, but they're constantly watching, seeing where we're good, where we're not, what our niche is in the department, and they really push us towards other certifications or classes or specialties that we're comfortable with, that we enjoy doing on patrol. So, man, right now, man, I'm as content as I can possibly be. Uh,
I think that's awesome. That's a great point for perhaps some of the maybe admin staff, command staff that may be watching this. Um, that's an excellent stance for a department to take, is to pull the rank and file, find what they're interested in, find where their strengths are, and help them develop that, because it's only going to make a department as a whole stronger, right? Because it's only as strong as its weakest link, as they say. Um, who who spearheads that initiative for your department? Is it all the way up at the top as the
it
chief?
it's all the way at the top. We've got
That's
our
amazing.
chief, our commissioner, uh, even our our sergeants, our lieutenants and captains. They're all really big on finding what you can do and exceed in that we know can contribute to the department. And they're not one of those that, we want you to go out and write tickets. You can be going out and spreading hate, discontent, getting all the arrests. Make a presence, take your calls, do your due diligence, and we will set you up for success. There hasn't been a minute since I've been here that I've had to second guess loyalty in any aspect of the leadership or the day to day patrol. It's phenomenal from bottom to top.
Wow, that's awesome, and so rare to hear in this line of work. It's not like corporate America where it's all about success driven. It's you know this is refreshing to hear at an agency that that nobody knows about,
Yeah,
right? I mean, it's in Oklahoma, where most people would consider a flyover state, but reservation work, I imagine, has to be a lot different than just regular patrol. And to have a department that supports its people like that, that's just, I find it, me personally, I find that amazing.
yeah, yeah. It was one of those, and like we talked the last time I was on the show, was mental health and stuff like that's always been a big deal to me. Um, my previous two departments, if you were to walk up to one of the guys, be like, "Hey, man, I'm having one of those days," and they just tell you, "Well, suck it up," you know,
Hmm.
get
Rub some dirt on it.
work. And here, there was a, I say a big time. There was a time when I first started, and it was a big adjustment for me mentally, and believe it or not, physically. It was a big shock for me coming here. And at the start, I wasn't. I don't guess I was acclimating as well as I could have been, just because I was complacent with the whole idea of, oh, well, I'm already a cop. There's not a whole lot that I'm gonna have to do different, and that was probably my biggest mistake that I'd made starting out here, was that complacency was not the way to go. Um, they're really big on, if we can't take care of you outside of work, then how are we expected to take care of you as supervisors when you're on patrol? So you do what you've got to do to get straight, and we're going to be here to pick you up if you need to be picked up. And it's been that way since day one. Um, I've got guys from a bunch of our neighboring agencies that are all the time blowing my Facebook or calling my phone, be like, "Hey man, what can you tell me to convince me to leave my department?" And I've made a couple jokes with my sergeant, lieutenant, and I'm like, "Man, y'all are gonna have to start giving me a commission for all the applicants I keep sending you guys, because I've got a handful that are ready to roll." That's
uh,
We've got so many people that want to get on here, and it's an extremely thorough department, in my opinion, to get on, compared to where I came from. Um, it took me like 6 months just to get through the application and test phase before I even got an interview. So they're thorough, but once you're in, man, you're freaking in. From
that's another interesting point, because in years past, like when I first got started in the late '90s, early 2000s, and even prior to that, there were agencies that had hiring freezes. Like, you couldn't get on; there was no slots
Yeah,
available, or they had. I've had a couple of guests that lived and tried to get on, like NYPD or agencies up in the Northeast, and there was like two slots available and 15,000 people putting in for those two spots. But now nobody wants to be a cop.
yeah,
Nobody wants to deal with the stuff. that comes along with being a cop, and agencies are struggling to fill the rank and file. And here you are in a small rural agency in, not to be mean or anything, but nowhere, Oklahoma, because nobody's ever heard. I bet you the majority of the people, if you were to put a map down in front of them, couldn't find
Oh,
Oklahoma.
I would guarantee.
As sad as that is, but so in a small rural agency that covers such a huge area, to have people lining up to get into that says a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those. I mean, we're all about, cutting up with the next agency. We'll meet up, we'll have coffee, we'll have food, but when it's time to put boots on the ground and get work done, like they know that if we show up, something's happening. Um, our agency's big about rapport and respect, and that's a big thing that we see and we hear a lot from these agencies that are losing guys that want to come to us. Is, man, they're like, once they leave patrol and they start doing that supervisory work, or they're not taking the calls anymore. It's like they seem to forget where they come from and where they started,
Mm.
and they say that's where the respect just completely walks out the door, and it sucks to see that, especially in the climate we're in right now, where you can't find anybody that wants to be a cop. Uh,
Mm-mm.
but the biggest thing that I've always told, and even in my other agencies, when I was training somebody or I had somebody to work with, it was, the day's gonna suck, but the day's gonna end. So tomorrow's a new day, and
Right.
that's freaking gospel to us guys with light horses. The calls can suck.
Indeed.
Tomorrow's a new day, and unfortunately, that's something we just don't get to hear a whole lot from some of our other agencies. So it is kind of disheartening uh, to an extent, but not much we can do.
No, no, there's not. I mean, there's only so much slick sleeves can do to change the world, right? It's just one call at a time. Um, so is your agency currently hiring?
Oh, we're always hiring.
Always hiring. Vacancy sign is open,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. So we cover a lot of casinos with it being a
Okay.
tribal thing. So I think we've actually got two more. I say two more. We've got one coming up in my previous jurisdiction, um, and then we've got some additions coming up down in my precinct. So I think we've got a convention center coming up, and that alone just holds 6,000 people. So
Wow.
that's a lot.
Yeah,
And we,
that
we
is a
definitely
lot.
don't have the manpower right now to host a 6,000 people or 6,000 seat convention center. So like we're always looking for applicants.
Okay. All right. Well, if you are so inclined, at the end of the show, we can plug the recruitment link. Just in case, folks from all over the country. And as you pointed out, a lot of officers are burnout, fed up with the way they're being treated at their current department, and might be up for a move, change of scenery, so to speak. As long as they don't mind riding a tornado or two, watching for Toto.
Yeah.
Attention veteran business owners. Do you want an easy way to be certified as a veteran-owned business? Do you want a better way to show it off in the same hard-charging fashion as our old unit patches? Do you want an easier way to be found and get business write-ups, more interviews, social media promotion, and more? avboa.net has your six. Get access to over 20 hard-charging digital badges for web and social media shares that shows you are a certified veteran-owned business. You've earned it. Show it off. Visit avboa.net today and use code KNOCK6, that's KNOCKSIX. Get your digital badge today. Well, let me ask you this. I know you enjoy the dope game and trying to find the bad guys riding dirty, putting them away. Have you ever heard of the resource called Desert
Yeah.
Snow?
Yeah. We I haven't had the opportunity to go. Um, some of my partners at my previous agencies and some of the guys that we've got now have gone to Desert Snow, and they they talk about it like it's gospel. They freaking love the training.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, you don't have to go to the training to be a part of the network. So you can just go to Desert Snow. I think it's desertsnow.com, maybe .org. Either way, they have a message board full of like hidden compartments, traps. Um, you can also sign up to be a part of EPIC, which is the El Paso Information Center, and they've got a lot of help for those in the interdiction world as well. Do are y'all still putting a lot of cars on the side there on I-35 and
I
finding?
say that we do. I don't run a whole lot of traffic on 35, and that's just strictly because our day shift call volume. I mean, there's days that we're call to call, and then there's days that we don't have absolutely anything. But that one time where the calls are dead and we decide we're going to run a bit of traffic, man, the calls just freaking open up.
Right.
So we've got
Yeah, Murphy's Law.
we've got 3 canines for our precinct, and they're
Oh,
they're always
sweet. For the
yeah.
precinct. For the precinct. How many total for the agency?
Uh, I know we had some vacancies on the canine here a while back. So I'd say as of right now, I think we've probably got about 5 or 6 canines.
I might be tossing my name in that application process.
Yeah, it's they do a whole lot of work with their canines. I mean, they'll run the absolute brakes off of them.
Nice.
Outside of that, our just basic patrol guys. We'll run traffic every now and then, but you've got to be doing something absolutely stupid before I just start hammering traffic, and that's just because the drive time in between calls tends to burn up a lot of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So if it's not something ticket worthy, I'll flash my lights, get you to see that I see you, and then we'll go about our business. Uh, but if I stop traffic, I'm either hooking somebody up or somebody's getting tickets. And that's
All right. Fair enough. Um, what patrol vehicle are y'all using?
most of our patrol guys, just basic patrol, are in Chargers. Um, our
Okay.
specialty teams, K9, SWAT, dive, they typically get Tahoes when we can find them. Right now, it's a struggle for everybody that I've
Yeah.
talked to. Um, and then supervisors, most times they're Tahoes. Investigators kind of get their pick. Most times it's pickups or Durangos. So we've got a plethora. It just kind of depends on where you're at in the department as to what you drive.
Yeah. So you bring up another interesting point. Patrol vehicles are hard. I mean, it's just not the retail vehicles for average citizens that you can't find. Patrol vehicles, purpose built vehicles, you can't find either. Uh, I heard there is a 2-year waiting list for a brand new
Yeah,
Tahoe.
it's pretty rough. So us guys that just made the dive team, or we've got some guys that are on SWAT, and they're still rolling around in Chargers. They're good Chargers, but that's about all that we can find as of right.
Yeah,
Like I said, every agency I've talked to, they're in the same boat. They're looking for handouts, not necessarily handouts, but
mm.
you know
Secondhand cars.
units,
Yeah,
just because theirs are past the point of being able to be fixed. So it's
yeah,
it's it's rough.
it is. Yeah, and who would have thought that um, to this day still COVID is such a huge world impact
Yeah,
on law enforcement or first responders as a whole. Because I'm sure the firemen and EMS guys are probably running older stuff as well. They can't get their hands on new apparatus, as they like to call it. Um, yeah, that's that. Okay, so it's not only here on
yeah.
the
I
East
know
Coast; it's
it's
nationwide.
everywhere.
Wow. Okay. All right, so you mentioned stupid people, or people doing stupid things to cause you to put them on the shoulder. Have you come across any more chickens in trailers,
No,
holes in trucks?
unfortunately not. No, there hasn't been a whole lot here lately. We the calls have just been generic calls. Nothing too crazy here recently. Like I said, the whole stop in traffic. I don't stop a whole lot of traffic just because it takes me 45 minutes to get from my house to the office. So
Holy
yeah,
cow.
yeah. My office is, I say my office, our south office, our south precinct office is 2 counties over. So we've got little substations here and there, but primarily if we all of our papers and our files that we keep, and they're all stored at one designated place. So yeah, it's a 45-minute trip just to get from my house to the office. So if I've got to go to the office, it's 'cause I'm on a mission. So I'm not trying to be redirected. Um,
So do y'all go 10-8 or in service from the house, or do you have to start off like at a
yeah,
roll
no,
call?
we get up, get dressed, walk out the door, and we go 10-8 when we hit the ignition. So same when we
Okay.
leave for the day. We'll pull up into the driveway, call out of service, and then that's that. So it's pretty convenient, especially with all the ground that we cover. If there's something
Yeah.
detrimental that needs to be passed on, I don't know if you guys use it there, but we use GeoSafe here with our department. So we'll just send a little message to the guys on the other shift if there's something they need to know about, or anything, like I said, detrimental to the next shift. It's phone call, or we'll just send them a quick message and then call it a day.
Now y'all running two 12-hour shifts or three like
So
9-hour
we
shifts?
do 4 10s. So we'll work four ten
Okay.
hour days, off for 3.
Okay. All right. Out this direction, or at least in the state of Georgia, the majority of smaller agencies run what's considered the sheriff's schedule, where uh, if you look at a calendar, a weekly calendar, Wednesday, Thursday, those are sort of like the pivot days. So one week you'll work Wednesday, Thursday, either 6 a.m., 6 p.m., that 12-hour, or 7 to 7, something like that. And then you're off Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then the next week, you'll work Monday, Tuesday, be off Wednesday, Thursday, and then work Friday, Saturday, Sunday in that 12 hours. So every pay period, you get about 84 hours. So 4 hours built in overtime. And then you get every other weekend
Yeah.
off. That in some of, see, two of my previous agencies, that's what we ran, and it was all right, getting every other weekend off, but running three consecutive 12-hour shifts,
Yeah.
it gets
Yeah.
rough.
We do 4 10s. And we typically have a swing shift later in the day that covers a bit of evening and nights.
Okay.
So right now I'm on uh, Monday to Thursday, and then I've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So can't
Nice.
beat it, and I'm on day. So
No. And on the
oh
dive
yeah,
team,
yeah. Fortunately,
man, you can't beat that
our
with a
special
stick.
team trainings they do on Thursdays. So designated dive team training days are Thursday. So that week I've got 4 days off, and
Nice.
so no complaints here, none at all.
No, no. I'd be upset at you if you started complaining. That's almost like, I mean, it's a unicorn,
Oh
if you
yeah,
will, in the law enforcement world.
yeah.
Nice. Well, good
We
for
just
you.
had 2 of our guys graduated the academy with my wife, and one of them he's fresh into law enforcement, and we're his first agency. Entirety of FTO on day shift, so entirety of cleat
Wow.
during the day. Graduates cleat, first shift he gets on his own, freaking day shift. I was like, man, if you give this up, I swear to God,
Yeah.
you will taste the bottom of an 11 and a half boot if you ever complain or give that up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you really can't
Yeah,
beat
no.
that. Yeah. Other than, day shift calls are typically pretty boring. Um, Night shift is normally where the action is. Normally, that's not to say there's not something big that kicks off during the day every once in a while, but um, ever work nights?
Have I ever worked nights? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In my first department, that's pretty much what I worked. And that's simply because it was such a small department and seniority ran strict. So if you were the new guy, you started out until you kind of earned your way up to an evening or a day. And then my second department was pretty much the same way. I moved up relatively quick just because it was such a small department. So there I was sometimes nights when they were needed, but I was primarily day shift, evening guy. And then I get here and I was on evenings and nights long enough to get into complete the FTO program. That I've been on days for months now. Well, probably since we talked the last time on the show. I've been on days pretty much since then.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. But let's talk about the peer support a little bit. I know it's a big thing for you, big initiative for you, and did the peer support that you created, was it from like a uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, did you adopt it from something that was already created and sort of bend and molded it to what you felt like your department needed, or did you start this thing scratch?
So we already had a peer support team just because we have our own mental health that's dedicated strictly to our department as a whole. So we've got a bunch of our brass. I know my captain, my lieutenant, and I believe one of my sergeants is also involved in it. So for a while, it was just them. We work relatively close with our agencies that have those times of struggle. And at the
Hmm.
point that promotions were made in the department, and our team kind of grew pretty bare for a minute, simply because of the supervisory responsibilities. Um, so I haven't had the opportunity to get in and experience much of it yet. So I've got my first training set for uh, the middle of next month. So I haven't had the chance to reach out and actually go to any of the call outs that the peer support group goes on or the training. So it's kind of hard to say right now.
Okay,
Still just trying to get used to the whole multiple teams, multiple responsibility type thing.
sure. Now, is this a program that, say, another agency could um, like get from you guys? Like it's built out, like paper form, send it to them, and they would be able to adopt and start working with, or is this just you know um, just for you guys and your
I'm
agencies?
pretty sure that they can. It's just one of those things that we don't have a whole lot of departments around here that are as opportunistic as ours. I get if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we try to keep. When I say the rapport isn't just as far as like jurisdictional calls and whatnot. I mean, we try to be as invested as absolutely possible with our other departments. And if there's a resource that we don't have that they may need or they have that we're looking for, and we're all about kind of tit for tat type thing. If there's something they're looking for that we can offer, by all means, if you're willing to sit down and learn and use it to your advantage and mold it the way your department needs it. I'm fairly certain that's the way that it is. It's
Okay.
fairly new too.
The reason I ask is because I mean we've got the Knock and Talk show has viewers from all over the world. Actually, to toot toot the horn of the show, we've got a big following, not big following, a bigger following in New Zealand and Belgium. Actually, in Germany, there's a couple of subscribers in like Hong Kong and a couple um, other countries. But so the reason I was asking is if this was a program that could be adopted by other agencies that may never have thought about having something like that, whether it's here in the States or internationally and overseas. Is that a program that can be boxed up and sent off to somebody to open up and sort of
Oh,
start?
I'm pretty sure
Do you?
that that's an extremely good possibility. We
Okay.
actually
Um,
have the law enforcement memorial up in D.C. Um, I haven't gone, but my lieutenant actually went and spent the entire week, and that's all he did was just peer support for the officers that were there, the families of officers that were there, and that was literally a 9 to 5 for 7 days. and that's all he did
Mm.
was the peer support and helping out with the families and helping out with the officers that may have known those other officers. So yeah, it's a big
Right.
thing that we try to branch out to other departments. So if they're looking for that opportunity, I'm almost certain it's something that we, as a department, could accommodate or try to help them square away.
Okay. So, folks, if you're at an agency that you feel like this is something that should be adopted or could be adopted or interested in looking at adopting, reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with Dakota and his agency, and hopefully be able to get that started because it is a big deal. It absolutely is needed. We don't just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. This is a very demanding, both mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, career field. We see the darkest of people in the worst of times, and mental health is something that, just like in the military, it's still not something we feel like we could talk about and open. We have to confide into our spouses, or um, sometimes they don't even know the demons that we deal with. So uh, I 100% support this initiative, and if there's a way your agency could use this show, let me know. And I'll help push that as far and wide as I can. Because I had a good friend of mine that was shot and killed on duty last year, and very close friend, and her agency just wasn't equipped to help the other officers at that agency, much less the surrounding smaller agencies within that county. So I'm 100% on board, 1,000% on board. So,
Yeah, it's a big thing that we push as a department. Like I said last time I was on, we talked about it quite a bit.
mhm,
We actually have like our own mental health, like our own licensed therapists that all they specialize in is our department, our officers. Like they see other clients, but primarily all they handle are officers of our department. And I say that I'm sure they have other department people
sure.
that reach out and talk to them, but primarily they deal with just us, just us officers. So that's a big thing for the whole department, from commissioner all the way down to patrol, is mental health. So
Well, that's great to have that dedication, and especially now with you and a family of officers, because your wife, as you mentioned, recently graduated from the academy. How is she liking the new career field?
she's freaking loving it. Yeah.
Yeah, and she works for a different agency, correct?
Yes. She works for our
Okay.
hometown police department. So um,
Okay.
we keep trying to put our claws in and convincing her to come over to the tribal side, but she's she's doing good. She's enjoying it.
Good. Yeah, and so your um, certification organization is called CLEAT, right? Um, Certified Law Enforcement Education and
Yes.
Training. Wow, I pulled that one out of the hat. Wow.
Yeah, but so most of our, I can't speak for most. I know a lot of our newer guys, they go to cleat, but if it's applicable, then well, that may not be the word. If it's feasible, depending on when an academy date is, they try to get our guys to FLETC in Artesia,
Oh,
Mexico.
really?
So that's where they prefer to get us certified, but it just depends on where the available academy date is and whatever's closest.
So you're talking about FLETC in South Georgia?
We go to Artesia, New Mexico for FLETC.
Okay.
At
Okay.
least that's where the last
Uh,
couple guys have gone, is New Mexico.
okay. Because there's a FLETC in Brunswick, Georgia, down on the coast, just north of the Florida state line. I didn't realize, and I should have known, but I didn't realize that there were multiple FLETC locations. But that would make sense. You not want to send everybody in the country to southeast Georgia.
Yeah,
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad she's enjoying it. I know she was in the dispatch side and corrections
Yeah,
side,
he
jailer, right?
started out initially as a dispatcher, and then moved from dispatcher to a CO, and then now just freshly graduated the academy. So she's had whole
Well,
melting pot.
well, we'll have to get her on the show to get her perspective on things there in Oklahoma
Oh,
if she's up.
we'll put the pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. No pressure. All right. So what else is going on? Um, any notable notes from either the tribe or uh, Oklahoma as a whole?
Huh?
How's the cable bill? Still paying that?
Oh yeah.
TV in every room?
Yep.
Yes.
No,
Yeah. All right.
not,
No
not.
additions to the family,
There's a TV in every room. Wi-Fi works.
and the Wi-Fi works.
So I tell everybody, man, if my wife ever gets tired of me, she's gonna have to bury me or she's gonna eat me alive in child support. So
Mm,
we got
yes.
working
Is
TVs.
it? Okay. Good. Okay. Good. I was, a little worried about that. That you may be adding to that child support requirement.
Oh no, nope.
All right. Well, and I've enjoyed this second edition of the Pat and Dakota show. I mean, the Knock and Talk show with Dakota. I'm going to title this episode 24, Dakota Hanks Part Deux.
Right on.
Part Deux. Well, if there's nothing else, I appreciate you taking time on your day off today. I know you've got a big deal happening tomorrow, and you should probably go help out with the chores. Um, tell your wife that I appreciate her letting me borrow you for about an hour today. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded the 24th episode, Knock and Talk Show with Dakota Hanks, Part Deux. And if you are interested in learning more about a peer support program, mental health program for your agency, or a group of agencies, however you need to work it, let me know. I'll put you in touch with Dakota, or you can find him on the Book of Faces. He's not hard to locate, and reach out to him directly. I'll have some of his links down here for you to link up with him directly. And until then, everybody, thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.
The Knock and Talk Show is a certified veteran-hosted podcast. Show your support, tune in, share, and subscribe.